Whispers in the dark night, losing all my mind. Shadow figures take flight. Secrets from an old book, gnosis of the unknown. Might end with one look.
Yeah, Cthulhu, hey cultists. This is the first of the videos of my new channel, the Sect of Elders Knowledge. Essentially what the channel was about is about Yog-Sothoth, or the magic of the Cthulhu mythos. But what's different about the channel is that we don't typically stay in the canon of the universe, but we try to expand upon it essentially through gnosis, and to just take it to different places and take it to essentially like a next level. It may not be on a grand scale, but it is like, as far as personal, it is very it would be to the next level of our standard. So one thing about the sect is that we say Xeno-Aeon is at hand. And well, what does this mean? This is essentially the setup for the Aeon. The Aeon being essentially it's the age, you know. Roughly Aeon translates to vital force, but we also use this as the documentation of a time, you know. Going back is Xeno-Aeon. Xenos, essentially, it's a word that we use to describe one thing from another. So this gives us the effect of another, or at times alien and strange, you know, something that is not necessarily of ourselves. You know, it gives us that Mason-Dixon of us and them, essentially. And what we do is we harness the them. We are the them, you know. We are the strange ones. We are the Xenos. So we put this together, Xeno-Aeon, which is the time of strangeness, the time of other. And this goes back, this is how we explain it. Essentially, other authors, other occultists, they talk about different eras, different ages, different times, and what they do is they mark this as a new time in their perspectives. For Crowley, was the Aeon of Horus. For Anton LaVey, it was the Age of Satan. If I remember correctly, because it's been a little bit, Avenger Satanis's Cthulhu cult marks the Age of Cthulhu. Well, for us, we mark it the Age of Strangeness. Later on, what I essentially want to do with the channel is that I want to go into something what I call Xenomancy, is what I practice in the sect. And pretty much explain some of the gnosis that I have gotten and received in my time, which has not been long, but has been very potent. What I also like to do is get into different theories and philosophies on the Necronomicon magic. That's also going into other groups such as Temple of the Great Old Ones. I personally am ordained through the First United Church of Cthulhu. I'm very proud. But first and foremost, this sect is, we are Necronomicon students. So what we do is try to study the Necronomicon in any way, shape, and form that it pops up. And this is not just in relation to stuff that is, I guess, practical occult knowledge, but we also, any piece of the Necronomicon essentially is a manifestation of the Necronomicon. So this also goes into things that are what we considered fantasy and stuff. Another group that does something very similar is the Necronomicon school. A very good group. Check them out. Check out First United Church of Cthulhu. Check out the Temple of the Great Old Ones. If you come from a satanic background, you can check out the Cult of Cthulhu, or as I call it, Okok, Official Church of Cthulhu. And I am not with them, but I was kind of like a spectator of sorts. Well, a friend of mine was in the group, and I essentially wanted to follow him into the group and be essentially his number two, but that didn't work out. That goes into a whole different story. It's actually neither here or there, so I'm not going to go into it. And there's great literature out there. There's also literature that are not essentially associated with specifically groups that work with the Necronomicon current, like Anthony Mason's Necronomicon Gnosis. Typically, Mason is not someone who is solidified in cult work, but her writings are very important. It's another piece of Necronomicon that has manifested into the physical world. I'm sorry, I'm working off notes here. So what is the Xeno-Aeon? Xeno-Aeon is a time of strangeness, and if you see the world as it is today, it's very fucking strange, man. We're just living in times that are very different as far as most times that have been previous, and that is because this is the nature of the way things are now, especially after COVID and how in the last few years we've kind of, as far as politics, which I'm not political, I will not talk about politics other than the fact of how it reflects upon the world around us. Because the Xeno-Aeon is essentially marked with times of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a constant back and forth, and it's almost like a pendulum. It swings one way, then it swings another. It's a time of extremes, and essentially we have to work through this to essentially bring ourselves up and achieve gnosis, achieve what groups like the Cult of Cthulhu and the Great Old Ones call awakening and ascension. And essentially it brings us into the communication with our outer servant, which in the second group, that is our version of the Holy Guardian Angel, as talked about by Aleister Crowley. So at this time of extremes, we have all these things to contend with, essentially, and a lot of it's very distracting, and essentially we have to get away from this and divorce ourselves from it to become more, to achieve states of gnosis and states of consciousnesses that we can't do while being distracted. The work at hand, we call this xenomancy. Xenomancy is essentially translates to strange divination. There is no doubt in my mind that the Great Old Ones are waking, and that you see the signs. There's places in the world that are getting destroyed by natural disasters, political uprisings everywhere, just a great upheaval in changing in humanity. We no longer define things like we used to. I mean, even terms like such as man and woman are changing and evolving, despite anybody's definition of those words. They're changing in humanity. Humanity is changing. Some say for the better, some say for worse, but regardless, this is what we got, and this is what we have to work with. So a lot of the work, which is xenomancy, is getting what we have and working with it to the best of our abilities. This is not in my notes, but I think I'd add it anyway. But working with a Necronomicon, I do believe it is a form of necromancy, to the fact that the entities that we work with are considered dead but dreaming. Dead but dreaming isn't a state of being dead as in like a dead body. Essentially it's almost like this, it's like this, almost like a torpor that it keeps you undead, essentially. And it says that there's signs that the Great Old Ones will wake from this and essentially bring the world to its doom and such. I'm not so much a believer in doom as I guess Lovecraft would put it, but it definitely marks an ending, an ending of ways, whether they are good or bad. It doesn't matter. It's just things are changing, and that is what Xeno-Aeon is, and this is what the sect of Eldritch Knowledge, this is what it puts forth. And I think I covered everything I wanted to cover with this subject. It wasn't meant to be very long. I mean, it's a new age. It's a new age for mankind. We're becoming more than what we were. We're becoming more than what we are. Becoming more than what we were. You know, and this reflects in our technology, our use of it, and us as spiritual beings, and how we use those spiritual technologies to the future. Alright, my friends, my fellow cultists, my brothers and my sisters, Xeno-Aeon is at hand.